everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Triple Triad podcast. You know me, Tampas. I'm your host. We have the rest of the Triad here, the Manderville Man, Andy Carmona.
What's up?
The Rogue Warrior, Alberto.
Hello, everyone.
We have two special guests, actually. The unofficial Chocobo and the man of many waifu, Alfred.
Hello, hello.
And one of Miami's bests, Alejandro, Rise of the Zillart, also known as Alex. Say hi.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Cool. So this is the group for today. And the reason I have these guys today is because I want to give a little more recognition to local players that aren't they can't always make it to the big scenes, but that go to the locals and really shake things up. And I think it's important for local players to get recognition, and that's why I have brought these guys on today. But before we continue, make sure you stop on TCG Titans, our sponsor, and of course stop at FFDECK, put all your ideas down. And I want today to be about events. So Alfred just recently won the first Florida Local Qualifier. Alfred, why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
All right, so the event, it was the first week of local qualifier, so the event had some problems firing, but what I really liked was the dedication of all of the players there. Everyone that went there drove at least maybe 2.5 hours to get there, and even though we didn't have the bare minimum that was originally posted, we basically just stubbornly tried to resolve the issue so that we could fire the event. So we still ended up playing. I got to do my little Manderville thing with Mono Lightning, and it ended up working out very well, especially against the Tricolor Monsters matchup.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit more about that matchup? So how many people were there also, and what was that problem? You mentioned there was a problem trying to fire off.
So the issue was that we only had 6 players that entered the tournament. And the thing with it was that we tried to see who else was going, because one of the guys there was from Max's Max Williams' area.
Jacksonville, I believe he's from.
Yeah, Jacksonville. We had because of the Petit Cup Tampa, we're also friends with Tony Heaviett. So we know what's going on with the Orlando crew, and the Orlando guys wouldn't have been able to make it because of the situation where stores didn't even know that they were hosting the local qualifier. And so the whole thing was just like a big jumbled up mess, and we tried for 2 hours to get this thing to start. I actually asked Sam Prime to see if he could maybe drop hints to RB, seeing if he could do something about the situation, and we also all ended up contacting the US page for Final Fantasy TCG.
Okay.
And they ended up not only notifying that the store that we were participating in that day, they also ended up notifying Sunshine Games, who will be having their local qualifier soon. So there was a lot of issues getting it started, especially considering it was the first weekend for the local qualifier.
Mm-hmm.
But at least Square Enix and whoever's helping whoever's helping moderate for the tournament scene, definitely doing everything they can to help, which is really nice.
That is nice. So you said there was 6. So you said there was 6 people. Is it possible for you to recall all the decks there?
I know every single deck that was played. There were there was it was me on Mono Lightning. There was James Howland, another Tampa local, was on Tricolor Monsters. His friend was also on Tricolor Monsters. Chad was on. Man, that guy was a Chad. Chad is on the Earth Wind Dataluma deck. The one of the other guys, I don't remember his name, but he was on the he was on Earth Wind Warrior of Light. And then the last player, the guy from Max Williams area, he was playing Mono Ice.
So these were all like pretty much anything that you would see on the Crystal Cups. This is what people are taking these things.
Every deck that was played there was basically a meta deck.
Because at least at this point, it's like there's no, well, you got second place, you got third place. No, it's like you take it all or you go home. That's what it is, right? Well, good choice on the Mono Lightning then.
One of the big things that helped is knowing and understanding how I play. Like, I look at the Legend Zemus as like a more complex card to play. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like that's one of the more complex cards to play, especially in the build that I was playing, which doesn't run Gear Ranger and Goblin. So for me, when I was playing the deck, it's just like I don't see as many uses that I could have for Zemus. So I decided, you know what? Last minute, let's take out one of the two copies of Zemus and just throw in the Emperor because it's the Emperor. And I played, and my rounds were Tricolor Monsters, Mono Ice, Tricolor Monsters, and then the finals match was Tricolor Monsters.
Wow. And you obviously won. You went undefeated, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's so for
Very
everyone.
nice. Alfred, why don't you tell us a little bit about the advantages that you have over the Tricolor Monsters deck? When I went to the Crystal Cup Kansas, I was on Mono Earth Zodiac, and I definitely had a tough time versus those Tricolor Monsters. So what was some of your keys to victory?
So the biggest thing against Tricolor Monsters is the ability to put pressure on them early, because if you can't get damage in while they're in their setup time, then once it gets to the part where you have to trade damage with them, they're going to be at an advantage, because there's going to be a point where there's monsters like Koboldroid. To beat a Koboldroid, 90% of the time you have to commit hard removal to it. Then there's things like that you have to face Gao, you have to face Hamlinot, you have to face these big dudes that basically force you to answer them, and then the monsters will just be able to pick up after all of your removals gone. So being able to not put damage on them makes it where they can no longer attack with monsters, because now they have to put monsters on defense.
Yeah.
So where one strategy starts, the other one kind of finishes off. That's pretty good. I mean, I've seen that deck piloted, and it's always like, when do you use your removal? Because you have to battle not only a lot of their board clear that doesn't affect their monsters, so they have a lot of like Valiforish and Totos, things that kind of just like wipe the board or just start from a clean slate. But then you got to understand that they do run forwards as well, and forwards that are pretty sticky. Some things that just don't, that are going to give you a little bit more trouble the longer they stay on the field. So that's pretty good.
I had to go steep on a Camelot in my last round, because it was like turn 2 Camelot, and I had the Alcid, but the Alcid combo piece was Black Waltz 3. So with that not being enough, I actually had to play the player and hope that and just throw out an Ilua and attack and hope that he thinks that she's so much of a threat that he's willing to endanger his Camelot just to get rid of her. So he falls for that, and I sacrifice my entire hand just to kill a Camelot, put 2 dudes on the board.
Wow.
But he used a lot of resources to put Camelot on the board in the first place.
Sometimes you just gotta go all out, man. Sometimes
Yeah,
you just
that
have to
first
use the resources that you have.
Yeah, we've done that a lot,
Yeah,
I think, right, Andy? Where we're that beginning play where we overextend will change the shift of the game. And
Absolutely. I did have a follow-up question for you, Alfred, and this pertains more to just kind of like the way that you play in your environment, because you don't always get to go to the big tournaments. We missed you at Boston. Unfortunately, you couldn't go. But what do you do at your locals? Like, how do you find time to play, or at least get time to just organize some people to just throw some games around? Like what is it that you do to just keep yourself fresh in the game?
Well, one of the big things is that there's always going to be people that, even if there's not a tournament, they want to play for one reason or another. The big one here with this is Sam, where Sam would just ask, hey, is there anyone that can make it down to our local game store and we can just play test, just grind out games. So whenever somebody wants to play test, especially the better players at your locals, and they just want to play test, grind out games, even if there's no tournament, even if there's no prize or anything, you should always be willing to just go there just to play, have fun, and learn and get better at the game.
Okay.
Very cool. How do you feel about going up against, you gotta, I know you have key players like Sam and Zach that are over there that are really great players, and then if somebody wants to start off knowing, okay, if I want to go and play, unfortunately I got to play these guys, and these guys are really good at the game. Do you feel like sometimes that can discourage a new player, or how do you guys welcome that person who feels, oh, why get into it when there's already established people?
It's okay. So this is actually a very interesting topic that the Tampa community has also discussed, because we've had issues with this a lot. Some of our even players that we've had before even I started playing the game, because I only started playing during Opus 3, and there were already players that were playing, and they stopped playing because they still couldn't just measure up, and they just weren't able to top because when I came in, I started doing well from the very beginning. Sam was always doing well from the beginning, and Sam and I started playing in tournaments in Tampa at the same time. You have Carmelo was good back then, but when Carmelo fell off, he started not appreciating the game as much. So it's really rough. One of the things that we've been doing for this is Sam put together a cube, which is you take a bunch of cards, which is you take a bunch of cards from every element, balance the numbers in each element, and make sure that all the cards are good and you have some synergies in it. And it's just one copy of every card that you think is good and can fit in the cube, and we just cube. We shuffle, we randomize the cards, we make a bunch of 15 card packs, kind of
it's like a draft, right?
Draft situation.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we were just talking about that as well at our playtesting yesterday.
Yeah, we'll have times when it's and the same people don't always win. Sometimes I build decks based on concepts that I like, and they're not really great in the cube situation. So I build a deck that I like. I still have fun with it, even though I go 2. Or I could just build or for example, you can just happen to come across things that are really good, and you'll like the interactions, and you'll learn more about the game through trying interactions with this draft that you never would have thought of.
Is that done for like a tournament? For like, let's say you walk into your locals and the tournament that day is the cube, or that's just casual play?
That's casual play.
Okay.
The thing is, like, the only problem is the only problem with it is you have to have somebody who will dedicate themselves to building the cube. The reason, so we have it fine because we have Sam who has like a foil playset of basically every card in the game already. So he just takes the non-foils that he upgraded from in his collection and just put all those cards in the cube.
For sure.
But cubing's probably like the one that we prefer the most, just because there's very few other options, because like the seal rules are very weird compared to something like Magic, because we don't have like the established basic lands thing. So we have to like change the rules of the actual card game itself to fit the sealed environment, which is strange. So we decided we prefer the concept of cubing.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for all that. I'm glad to know that Tampa has so many options for different kinds of players, and that's one of the main things that this episode was supposed to be about. So, Alfred, thank you for that. Alex, I know you recently played in the Octagon Eidolon Festival. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be my pleasure. So, when I first started getting into the game, there was a pretty unfortunate shortage of players to play with here in South Florida. I actually hadn't met you or Andy or pretty much anyone yet until later, where I posted on Reddit. So the only way I could actually play this game was driving to Tampa from Miami. I did that twice. And while that was fantastic, we went up there for the pre-release. I topped on that. Actually, that's where I met Alfred, and then a month later, I went back for another tourney. But then, I realized, okay, every time I want to play Final Fantasy, I'm getting in my car for a 3.5-hour drive in both directions. So I started to take a look at what my options were, right? And so, I started looking. I come from a lot of Hearthstone, so I'm used to playing card games online. So did a little research, and I found Octagon. And I saw that it was free, and then you could download the art packs, and you're good to go. It's pretty much like playing in person, except this one is also scripted. So, for example, the program automatically calculates synergies like plus effects and things like that. You can do damage done. What are the current power levels of creatures on the board? It's really nice. It doesn't let you pay for things unless you pay for them correctly. So it actually scripted quite a few of the game mechanics, which make it very friendly to jump into. I think from knowing nothing about it to being in my first game was maybe 20 minutes. And honestly, it's been a really huge boon to my play of this game, because first of all, I can play at any time, anywhere, good to go. Second, I don't need to put a deck together and take a deck apart in order to play test, because, maybe some ideas just don't work. I'll know that real fast on Octagon, going 0 and 5, I'm just getting bodied. I understand, okay, this deck, let's make some changes, It lets you import your deck directly from FFDECK, so that's huge. And that's really where I got most of my playtesting. So I was doing Octagon for a couple months, and I discovered that they actually run a every 3-month or 4-month tournament, and it gets pretty big. I think they're on their 3rd or 4th Octagon Festival or Octagon Open, maybe more. And so I signed up. This time it was the first paid entry at $5. You know, we paid through Patreon and you got in, but there was prize support. There was a winner got, I believe, a box and a half.
Nice.
Second place would get a full box. 3rd and 4th would get a half box each. And then 4th through 8th got deck boxes. So they even had some nice sponsors going there. And this recent Eidolon Festival or Octagon Open was 52 players. And there were some really good names on there that you'll see people who are like taking nationals. Like the competition is very high. And I recently did decently well there. I honestly feel I could have done better, but I got 9th.
Yeah.
I actually missed out on 3rd tiebreakers. But, you know, it was really good. It was a great learning experience. I got to face a lot of really high-level meta decks piloted by very advanced players. So I definitely recommend Octagon to anyone who's wanting to get into this game.
And it's also very important for. Sorry, I just want to, like, I guess, make this point. Put this point across is that even if you guys don't have locals, there's always ways to play. Is what is one of the things. Again, I want to say. So we have locals. If you don't have enough people that don't want to play like competitive, you can try to build a cube, and then at the end of the day, if there's no one that shows up, and you can always play test against real strong people online. So, Albert, what were you gonna say? Sorry.
That's cool for people who are like me, who's never even. I mean, I've heard of it. I've seen it. I think like a stream or two with from Grand Jason. I think he Twitch streams that his games on Octagon, but I've never played it myself. Is there like a ranked? Are there ranked rooms and like casual rooms? Because I think my concern with that is like everyone's gonna be, since like in real life you don't really have access to all the cards. Once you jump on there and you have every card at your disposal, you're gonna build a bunch of like random like jank decks, and you're just, which is cool, because those need a place to get play tested as well. But I think that would be my worry.
Yeah, a valid concern. So there is no ranking or anything like that, but you're able to name your lobby. And when I'm playing, I always name my lobby serious testing or competitive testing or, meta decks, something like that to signify that I'm looking for a decently try-hard match, right? Now, sometimes it's 3 a.m. and I just want to get in some jank testing, like you say, and I'll just put, casual game, something like that. And then that lets the opponent know, too, that they're able to come try their experiments as well. But I've definitely, you can get both on Octagon. It's really, it's both available.
So you heard it. So you heard it here first. 3 a.m. That's when you get to test all your mono fire decks.
Correct. That is correct.
Nice. I like that. That's where I log on then. I've never actually played a single game of Octagon. It's always tantalizing. But back in our episode 2, when I was talking with, we had Jordan Denk on our podcast. I told him, yeah, man, social anxiety keeps me off of that stuff because I'd make a mistake or two and I'd be like, oh, I should just uninstall this program because I'm terrible at this. But hopefully it's like Alex says, it's real easy to just download that thing, download the what's it called, the skins, the map packs, whatever it's called. The image, the art packs, the DLC, hosted by EA, right?
Yeah, you download it from Origin for sure.
Yeah. Every 5 decks you craft, you get a loot box.
Man, imagine if they started doing that. That'd be funny. You get like back sleeves.
That'd be terrible.
But no, I mean, I actually am really blown away that it's such a great product, and with really high level support, and it's completely free. That's really blows my mind, which is very nice. So it's just a great option. Yeah. From not knowing anything about it to playing a game, like I said, it's maybe 10-15 minutes. So it's really accessible.
That's cool.
And
is there a way to do like private lobbies to like maybe like
absolutely.
Have a friend? And what about like having like a friends list? You'd be like, oh, let's see who's online and invite them or something, or
So I need to check. I'm not sure if there's a friends list. I don't personally use it because I'm a bit antisocial like you. I usually just get in, get out. But I'm unsure. I'd have to check up on that. But you can definitely lock your room and make it password protected. That's for sure.
Oh,
That's cool.
Very nice.
all right. Well, thanks for that. I definitely want to give.
Congrats on the ninth place.
Yeah, that's true.
pretty cool.
The proof is in the pudding there. See, he got ninth place in this Octagon Open. He does top. Alex tops pretty much every locals we have that we do fire out. He's in top 4 with us consistently. So there you have it here, guys. You know, there's no excuse not to practice or like to be able to play the game. All these options are available to you.
Yeah, and even if all those options don't still sound tantalizing, like going out to a local qualifier or downloading an application online to do something, what really helps you really get in the mood to want to play more, to branch out more, play a single game with a friend. That's all it took for me. That's all it took for Jonathan and I, really. Once he bought us our starter decks, I couldn't get enough, and I was just like, do I take a sick day off of work and just go and play some Final Fantasy? Because that's how addicting this game was. But all it really took was just playing with a friend. Find somebody who either enjoys the Final Fantasy lore or just really enjoys a well-balanced, TCG, and just show them the ropes and just have at it. You'll see how quickly you would want to grow your community, or at least reach out to see who else is playing around. That's really all it takes. Just play with a friend, and it grows from there.
So that's a funny story, and I feel like I want to tell it now just because I remember, I think it was like after Christmas or something. It was, and then I looked it up, and I told you guys that I had found out that there was a new Final Fantasy trading card game, and that there was 3 starter decks, and that if I bought them all, would you guys play with me? And I think Albert was very hesitant at first, and
I was super hesitant, but I asked the most important question, which was, were there any Final Fantasy 8 cards?
Yeah, at the time there wasn't, right? There wasn't any. It was a 7-10.
There was. No, there was.
Oh, that's right.
Ice was already had Renoa, and we didn't know how good those cards were.
That's true. That's true.
But there was Squall, and that's all I needed.
Yeah. But it was super funny. We bought those decks, and then I think that kind of dictated what we play now. I ended up with the Final Fantasy X deck, the Yuna YRP thing. Andy ended up with.
I wanted that one first.
Yeah.
I said, man, I really want the Titus one because I really like Final Fantasy X. You're like, oh, but I wanted that one too. I'm like, I guess I'll jump to this Lightning thing. So you heard it here first. Thank Jonathan Ciordi over here for putting me on Lightning.
Yeah. So it was funny, and then I guess Albert is playing the Fire Earth. He was playing the Cloud deck, and so I think he's played more Fire Earth than all of us. At least the Fire, anyway.
Oh man, that Fire Earth FF7 was my first deck as well. And Danny, the guy who got me into the game, he was on that YRP, and oh my goodness, it was just annihilation. But getting destroyed that many times just made me want to play the game more, so that's really all it takes. Like Andy's saying, you start with a friend and that's it. You just grow from there.
Yeah. Alfred, which one did you start off with? I'm curious.
I actually did start off with a starter. So I knew about the Final Fantasy TCG for a while, but when the game first came out, boxes were really hard to get.
Yeah.
They were like, that's true. At our locals in the very beginning, they were like 200 a box, and I was just like, nah, that's way too steep for me.
Yeah.
So last year during a convention in Tampa, MetroCon, one of our local stores had their own booth at MetroCon, and I wasn't really that big on too much of like the other convention stuff that you could buy, so I was just like, you know what, I'll get into it. So I just bought a box of Opus 1 and a bunch of packs. I had some of my friends help me build a deck, and across that week, I was just like progressively like testing and building this deck throughout the entire week. And then they're just like, oh yeah, you want to play in a tournament? And I'm just like, I don't know, I'm not gonna pay to get body. And then they're like, no, the tournament's free. And I'm just like, you know what, sure, it's a free tournament, I'll get bodied for free.
For free.
Yeah.
Like, going to this tournament it was like 30 something people, 5 rounds of Swiss. I end up going 5-0 in Swiss, losing in top 4.
Nice.
Wow. And that was the first one you said?
That was my first Final Fantasy tournament, and it was literally just a week after I started playing.
Yeah. Well, see, it's good, man.
You're already more established than 3 of us combined.
Yeah, man. You were winning tournaments, and we're still reading the rule book over here.
Yeah, I was using starter deck Snow.
Yeah. Well, that was a good flashback for us. Let's move on. I want to talk about the Socal Crystal Cup a little bit. First of all, congratulations to everyone that topped, and of course,
thank you.
what a crazy tournament. They had 2 brackets, and they had to do 2 sets of 7 rounds, right? And then two sets of top 16.
That was due to I think they mentioned it was the restrictions of the venue, so they don't want to cram like 200 people in one spot.
Yeah.
So they broke it down, so they had like a day 1, a day 2, and then a day 3. Bring everyone back.
Yeah.
And then just host this crazy 16-on-16, just 32 player, awesome action thing. Which I saw all of it. It was awesome. You saw some amazing decks. My personal favorite was the 5-color EX Burst one. That thing.
That's the one that I wanted to see the most.
Yo, that was so good. Like I loved it because it was like, for me it was the anticipation of like I'm watching it. I'm just like, get attacked. I want to see what's next. You know, but that's just my take on it.
Yeah. Do you know how far it made it? I was curious. I didn't follow that one. Did it get? No. Did it make top 16 in one of the brackets?
I think it lost in top 16.
Okay, so it did make day 2 at least, or day 3, I guess.
Yeah, it made day 3. It won first round of top, lost in the second round of top.
I see.
That's still pretty good.
Yeah, it's still like that. And then I saw.
Nice run.
What else did I see on stream? I saw they put on stream. I guess one of the only 2 Scion decks that you might have seen, but it was Scion versus Scions, which is also awesome. And I mean, congrats to just California for just showing that on stream, because if I was going to see another mono ice match or something, I was just going to turn it off. It is a competitive deck, I get it, but
California is just like the master of jank.
we're gonna quote you on that one.
But there was a lot of ice out there too. It wasn't just jank either.
Just look at the top.
Yeah, ultimately,
ice.
ultimately, Ice Lightning won. Then Mono Ice in second, and then there was a Wind Earth and another Mono Ice for top 4. And those were the 4 decks that got their invite. So my question to you guys is, and I'll open it up to Albert first. What do you think has a better win rate, like monocolor or dual color? I know a lot of people talk about the monocolor meta because it's consistency, but do you think the dual aspect covers more bases against the mono builds?
I think that like the way that it's been shaping up because of mono ice, like the way I've seen that the last few major events go, it's that the mono deck for sure is consistent and works. And I think it's the one you want to play if you're just building a deck, right? Like you want to try that first. And as we get more sets, the mono color is definitely going to be, it's going to be better. It's going to be more reliable, like you're saying. But what happens in those major tournaments, like even how I think Okimoto was the one who said like he didn't take mono ice to that event that he won because I think he put in Earth, right?
It was ice.
Yeah, because he needed that edge on the matchup for the mono colors. So, I mean, a dual color is always going to be viable, like no matter what, because you're going to want to have like that second set of options or something to have answers to, especially in this game with no side deck, no sideboard. You're going to need some way to kind of surprise your opponent and kind of keep them guessing. And at the same time, once you build the monocolor, you're going to want it to do more than that. Like the monocolor is always going to have the consistency, right? But then, you're going to feel like, hey, this deck might be better with, something else, like a tech, something else that could, make it more than it is. So the dual color, even tricolor, I think, as we're going on with these cards like Leo that we just saw spoiled for the next set. You're gonna be tempted to try what else can this deck do. So I don't know if I'd say that like the mono is better for like big events. I don't think so. I think that there's always going to be the dual color, at least 2 colors that you're going to want to play.
Okay, Andy?
I actually do believe that the tricolor or the dual colors just have that much more advantage because you're opening your toolbox a lot more. You can't fix everything with just a hammer and nails. You need other things in your toolbox. Statistically speaking, I mean, you're seeing a lot more dual colors, triple colors. You're not seeing a lot of the only real like consistent mono deck that you're seeing. You're seeing more mono ice. You're even seeing the depletion, like the reduction of mono lightning in top play, or at least in your statistics of your top 16. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like it's just because there are more cards, you have more options to do more things. So if you're mixing the colors, you could still be doing different things. And for example, so you had 2 of the same elements out in the Crystal Cup, Kansas. So you had Earth, Wind, but yet they were 2 different decks, or at least they were doing a couple of different things. They weren't the same thing, but they were sharing the same element. So that kind of just opens up that whole spectrum of you can share an element, you can do different things to kind of like have that same outcome. So I like the inclusion of just like changing the mono style for dual colors, triple colors, even 4 colors if you're feeling that cheeky. But yeah, I mean like I welcome it. I personally am not there yet because I feel like the mono structure has that comfort, that security of knowing that you won't ever get that color lock. You just need CP. You're not struggling for color CP. You're just struggling for CP at its bare minimum. So in essence, you could kind of say it's like easy mode, but you still have to play the player. You still have to play the game. You still have to play the deck. So that's my take on it.
And that is one of the advantages, I guess, that needs to be said. That monocolor never falls under that, like needing that color, like you're saying, and so I guess that's what you're trading off for consistency, right? Like, or
yeah, you're kind of like giving up certain certain tools that you can use, whether it be you're in mono lightning and then you don't have access to any sort of breaking up your opponent's backups, like how Wind has options to do that, or discard, which Ice has the option to do that. You're kind of just limiting your skill set to what those cards can do, but at the same time you're strengthening that core, so you're not a jack of all trades, but the one thing that you do, you're going to do it really well in that mono aspect.
Okay. Alex?
Hey, yeah, I mean, great discussion so far, and I'm over here thinking about my stance on this, and I guess just from experience, the majority of the decks that I play in nearly all the competitive tournaments have been mono so far, because I just really do enjoy that consistency of no matter what I'm going to draw, I've got the CP, I'm able to play it out, especially now with the ridiculous prevalence of Ice discard. Many games, lots of matchups, I'm going to be going handless, relying on top decks. It's not a great position to be in, but with the absolute terrorism that is mono ice right now, it's a scenario that you're going to be finding yourself in. So I really like the fact that mono, no matter what I'm drawing, it's going to be playable. I might even be able to play both cards. Whereas if I was on dual color and I was maybe CP locked, only one of those cards might be playable, So I like the mono. I will give the dual color, though, some props, simply because Camelot is a card. And it's in, just taking a look at FFDECK, Camelot is in 15% of every single created deck on that website. And, obviously, if you're on that dual color you're going to have some options to deal with him. Whereas
he's less threatening.
If you're on mono, he's less threatening. Where on mono, and it comes that second main phase, you might get locked out of a lot of plays for the rest of the game.
Okay, Alfred.
So something that I've been seeing with the Crystal Cups in general is the fact that mono ice is the established monocolor deck, and with second place being second in out of the mono elements being lightning, but then you have the prevalence of the fact that the winning decks have all been dual color decks. Yeah. It's one of those things where it's the reason I feel like a lot of the reason why mono ice has such a prevalence is because of the fact that these monocolor decks, you can play your game, and the less experienced players will falter in front of a consistent strategy that has the ability to overpower them. But when you see Matt Okamoto, Sam Prime, and all of these players that they're very intelligent, they're very well practiced on these dual color decks, they have the ability to look at interactions and understand how they can just beat their opponent instead of having to just look at the element setup and go, well, look at this element setup and I have to play something type. I either have to play it or I'm going to try to beat it. So you have these players who they're using their knowledge to be able to win the field, basically. So my thing with mono versus dual right now is you want to play mono ice to do well at a tournament, but you want to be these really smart players that can construct really good dual color decks when you want to actually truly win the big tournaments.
Okay, I like that.
Which one do you prefer, though?
My preference will always be towards dual color decks because I believe that the ability to take the small individual options and combine them into one combination that will become like a one-size-fits-all will always favor the more intelligent player. It's the reason why, for example, my water wind deck, my YRP build from the Petite Cup, the reason why I built that deck is because there was a lot of things to solo out cards. So if I'm going to be facing lightning, if I'm going to be facing lightning wind all day, what are they going to do against a Maria Minwoo, Ash, and Trey?
Yeah. That's a good point. But Alfred, are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay. I lost you there for a second. All right. Well, those are a lot of good points. So guys, I think that's going to wrap us up here. I hope, everyone listening, and I hope you took something from this. Again, the point of this podcast was to shine light on some local players here. You know that Andy, Albert, and I, what we do and stuff like that, but you never hear about, Alex or Alfred, and I wanted to, introduce you guys to them.
Well, Alex is definitely a key player here in Miami because it not only was he just kind of like the outreach that we had started out in like the Fort Lauderdale. I can't even speak anymore. The CS Hollywood, but he didn't give up. So because of him and because of Jonathan, now we have that sort of that scene that we can try and get together. Because I know we got some people down in Miami, we got some people up in Fort Lauderdale, but definitely this guy's the reason why we have a local scene. And Alfred, I mean, he's just he's just one of the guys that won't give up on the game itself. So he's one of those guys that you want in your local scene, because not only is he going to provide competitive play, but he's going to provide insight on colors that you might not be, too keen on. Since he's got, you got different people who understand different cards a little bit better. So it's always good to have those type of people in your locals. So that sort of outreach just helps out grow the community.
Fun fact: my three biggest tournaments, I did not overlap. I did not overlap a single color. Because the Petite Cup I played Water Wind, the Orlando 1K I played Ice Earth, and what's it called? And this thing I played what's it called?
What, the local qualifier?
Local qualifier I played Mono Lightning.
Oh, I see.
So it's like
always be willing to try something new.
I've done a bit of everything except fire. I'm just not a big fan of fire.
Not yet. You're not.
Not yet.
You're not. Opus 6. Opus 6 will change your mind.
I'm definitely playing some fire in Opus 6 though.
I think we all are. I think everyone is.
That's the element to splash in your whatever brew you're thinking of. Just put some fire in there, and you make Chris Adams happy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play like 4-color nights.
Love this.
All right, guys. Well, thank you all for that. So like I said, this is going to wrap us up. Everyone listening, please go out there and play. Go out there and spread the word. This game is great. You have lots of ways to get, to get your practice in. And there's a lot of opportunities for you, and not just online or at big events, but in your area. You just got to find them. Thank you, everyone, for Alfred and Alex for joining us today. Andy and Albert, of course, always here.
Are we going to do anything? Are we going to do anything for our awesome fans this time around?
Actually, I'm still waiting for the last podcast, so I think we're going to skip this one. Next week will be Opus 6, and I do want to have stuff for them then, so I think we'll hold off on this episode.
I know certain people are looking for those very saucy YRP sleeves that we're getting at that pre-release. So maybe I might hold on a couple, and
maybe
we can't do anything about that.
Yeah, that sounds good. Again, thank you guys. We are the Triple Triad, and we'll catch you next time.